everyone, if you're looking for a new spring makeup look, I've got you covered. I'm going to show you how to create this really beautiful, peachy, monochromatic makeup look. It's a look that's pretty universally flattering and is also really easy to do. Okay, so to start off with, I'm going to go in with sunscreen. I'm going to be using a tinted moisturizer that has sunscreen in it, but I know that I'm probably not going to be using enough of that tinted moisturizer to give me the protection from the sun that I need. So I'm going to use Glow Screen from Supergoop. I have applied a pretty generous amount on the back of my hand, and I'm going to blend this all over my face. I love glowy products. I think that having a luminous complexion is really youthful, and most of the time, even if some of my clients have oily skin, I'm still going to make sure that certain parts of the face are luminous. So now I'm gonna go in with my tinted moisturizer. I'm using the Tower 28 Sunny Days. This has a broad spectrum SPF of 30. The sunscreen in it is a mineral sunscreen, which basically means that you don't have to wait 15 minutes for it to be activated to go outside. Chemical sunscreens, you have to wait 15 minutes for them to basically do their job. So the first thing that I do is blend this out on my fingers. And then I'm going to start in the center of my face applying this. The center of the face is where most people need coverage. We have red noses, red chins, and I go between rubbing and patting. So rubbing the product kind of distributes it across the skin, and then patting blends it in. So if you end up with like any streaks from your fingers, you can go back in and pat the streaks away. This is also a good technique for building up coverage. Like if I needed more coverage through this area, I might grab a little bit of product and then go and pat it in instead of blending, because this might wipe the product away, whereas this is going to build it up. So you can see it's a really pretty finish. I love this stuff because it feels so hydrating. A lot of tinted moisturizers are oil-free, which works great if you have an oilier complexion, but for me, I have dry skin, and so I love anything that feels really hydrating and also looks dewy. I also really like the NARS Radiant Tinted Moisturizer, but I'll let you guys know when I find a competitive drugstore product, because I'm sure there's one out there and I would love to find it. The next thing that I'm going to do is concealer. This is the Saie or Saie, I'm not sure how you pronounce this and I'm too lazy to look it up. I think this is their Hydroboost Serum Concealer. I can't read the bottom of this. This is a really creamy, serum-y concealer. I really like the texture of this. However, this thing makes a mess. I actually am storing it in a baggie because it leaks serum out everywhere, but I like the concealer other than that. So I'm just going to apply a dot of this under my eyes. I like to use my fingers most of the time when I'm blending concealer. I find that it looks the most natural and that I'm able to build up coverage. And I always feel like brushes and sponges absorb a little bit of my product. So I don't like feeling like I'm wasting product. Sometimes if I'm doing like a smoky eye or like a cat eye, I will use a brush for concealer because then I'm able to manipulate the shape of the eyeshadow or the eyeliner. But otherwise, I usually just use my fingers. So then I'm gonna take a tiny bit of powder. This is a sample of a CoverFX powder that I've had for years. Literally, I've had this thing for years. That shows you how often I use powder. And I'm using a fluffy brush and just taking a tiny bit, and I will dab it around my nose, any areas that on most people are prone to getting shiny, underneath my eyes, and that way mascara is less inclined to leak down. Because if you have a bunch of creamy concealer and eye cream under your eyes and you don't set it with a powder, sometimes even if you do set it with a powder, the mascara will get broken down by those creamy products and will smudge under your eyes. So that's the main reason that I am going in with a little bit of powder under my eyes. So complexion is prepped. Now I need to go add some color. Actually, do I want to do my eyebrows first? Yeah, never mind. I think I want to do my eyebrows first, then I'll go in with bronzer and blush. So I am going to comb my eyebrows in place, and I'm using a fine little precision pencil. This one is from MAC and they make a bunch of colors. NYX makes a really great alternative to this. That's a drugstore brand. Really what I care about is the fact that this has a fine little tiny point. Then I'm kind of going through and doing hair-like strokes. Sometimes I will trace around the perimeter of my eyebrow, and other times I will go in and just kind of do hair-like strokes throughout the eyebrow. Both of those techniques tend to have a really natural finish, especially when you go through and use the spoolie to comb the product out in between applying the product. This is me using light pressure. You can barely see the product going on the skin. I'm not using this like a crayon where I'm drawing back and forth. That's not the effect that I want. I just want small amounts of color payoff. And then I go back through and soften the product. I'm really just trying to create like a veil of color behind my brow hair. Then I like to use a colored brow gel on the actual hair to give more definition and dimension. For me, that's the biggest tip with makeup in general, is you can always go in and add more product. So it's better to kind of take your time and start off with less product. For one, you don't waste as much product. And for two, you have more control over the finish. It's really easy to add more product, but it's really hard to backtrack after you've applied too much. This eyebrow naturally is a little bit more square, so I like to go in and try to square this one off a little bit. But I'm not drawing like a brick shape and filling it in. I'm still trying to do hair-like strokes. And then with eyebrows especially, I like to go between looking up close in the mirror to looking from further away, because you see symmetry and density better from a distance. So being up close helps you make sure you're not making a giant mess, and looking from far away helps you see like the overall symmetry and balance. So now that I have that drawn on, I'm going to put the lids on because I like to keep things tidy. And then I'm going to use a Maybelline brow gel. So this is the Maybelline Express Brow. I just discovered this a couple of weeks ago, and it's a nice knockoff for Glossier's Brow Boy. Now, I like this product because the wand has basically two different options. One side of the wand has longer bristles and the other side has shorter bristles. So the longer bristle side helps you basically just comb the product through and not apply as much product. Helps you get more definition on the hair and separation. And the other side allows you to apply a little bit more product if that is your intention. It probably will never be my intention because I like to use small amounts of brow gel and really concentrate it on the hair because I already applied product on the skin, which is defining the shape of the brow. This is just meant to define the actual hair and make the individual hairs look thicker and more noticeable. This was a find that I was really excited about. I'm very particular about brow wands. I like really small wands, and in particular about the length of the bristles and how the product is distributed. Basically, I'm an eyebrow gel snob. So now it's springtime. I want to look like I have a little color, so I'm going to take one of the new Jonesboro bronzers. These came out a few months ago. This shade is medium tan, and I'm going to grab a little bit of the product. Because I'm so fair, it's really easy to get a lot of color payoff with bronzers, so the pressing it into the brush pretty much makes it to where I'm not going to accidentally get too much color on my face. So taking this to the backs of my cheekbones, right through the hairline. Bronzer is a product that it's really wise to use sparingly and to build up the color and opacity of over time. So then I'll take whatever is left over and just dust through the center of my face. And this brush sheds everywhere, but I still like it. So now I'm gonna use this really beautiful kind of burnt terracotta blush from Danessa Myrics that I'm loving. And I'm gonna apply a little bit on my stippling brush. So I'm just applying it to the apples of my cheeks. You can kind of smile, and then instead of covering the entire apple of your cheek, I kind of think of doing like half of it and then fading the blush backwards kind of into that bronzer. And because it's spring, who am I kidding? I love tons of blush all year round. I think you can never get enough blush. And for me, blush makes everybody look younger and makes everyone's face look brighter. But how pretty is that? I love this stuff. So again, this is Danessa Myrics. Okay, so complexion is prepped. I'm not gonna do a highlighter because I used the glowy sunscreen and I used hydrating products, so my skin already has a little bit of luminosity to it. Just getting a couple of brush hairs off my face. You know, for a different makeup look, I might add some additional highlighter, but I'm gonna keep this pretty minimal today. What I'm going to do now is go in with a cream eyeshadow from Ilia. I just dyed my hair dark brown from red, and so I'm kind of having fun playing with all of these colors that I was kind of on the fence about when I was a redhead because it was too matchy-matchy essentially. I just applied this on the eyelid. It's kind of like a peachy tone, and I'm using a fluffy blending brush to blend this out. This is the MAC 217 brush. So you can see what that looks like. It's kind of this really pretty monochromatic look with my blush. I applied a lot of this on this eyelid, so I'm just kind of tapping it across my eyelid to distribute the product across before I go in and blend. Kind of similar to when I was doing my tinted moisturizer and I was patting to build coverage. I'm kind of patting to just build coverage across my eyelid because it gives me more control blending this eyeshadow out. Oh, this kind of feels nice. It's like a little eyelid massage. This is a palette from NARS called Hammamet. This is a very monochromatic spring look. I love monochromatic looks. And I'm gonna take this matte fleshy peach and pull it through the crease. So this is lighter than the eyelid shade that I put on, and some people call this a transition shade. It's basically a shade that's between the darkest shade and the lightest shade, which is usually gonna be your brow highlight color. So the whole idea with eyeshadow, generally speaking, is to have very gradient blended looks, and a transition shade is kind of like a mid-tone shade that helps you transition from a dark to a light shade. So I've just applied that through the crease. This is a brush that has absolutely nothing on it, and I'm just making sure that that's nice and blended and soft. Then I'm gonna take this shimmery color with my finger and pop it just above my iris. I usually like to concentrate shimmery colors right on the center of my eyelid because shimmer attracts light. And so if you apply it just above your iris, it's gonna theoretically be attracting the light to whatever your eye color is. So I think I'm also going to take a little bit of this pale transition color and pop it underneath my eye. You do have to be careful with warmer eyeshadow colors because it can make it look like you have pink eye. This is more of a peach though and less of a red magenta-y pink, so I'm not too worried about it. Then I'm gonna take that blending brush that I was using before and just kind of soften any edges that need to be softened. A little bit more of that crease color. Pop it into the outer corner. Now I'm gonna curl my lashes and get the lash curler as close to the base of my lashes as possible. Otherwise I'll have like a weird bend in the middle of the eyelash, which is not cute. I usually like to go back and forth a couple of times because I have really straight eyelashes. And now I'm going to apply a little bit of a Covergirl mascara. This is a brown black, which I find really pretty. It still gives a lot of contrast with my skin, but it is just a little bit softer, not quite as dramatic as a black. And I like this formula a lot. It doesn't flake or smudge very much, which is a problem that I run into pretty regularly with mascaras. And it's a drugstore brand and I think is like under $10, so who can beat that? Mascara is the one product that I think you can always safely buy at a drugstore and get a really good quality product. A tip if you get mascara on your skin is to let it dry, which we will do, and then use a spoolie and scratch it off. While I'm letting that dry, because I did get it all over my eyelid, I'm gonna take a little bit of this Lasting Finish lip liner from Rimmel, and I'm going to very, very lightly graze around my mouth. So I don't want full color from this. Again, it's similar to the eyebrows. The difference between like applying minimal pressure and then blending it versus using this like a crayon. I don't want it to look like that. I want it to be softer. I really just want to make my lips look a little bit fuller. So when you're trying to make your lips look fuller with lip liner, the first thing you need to do is look at your lips and figure out where the asymmetry is. I know that my top right side is lower, basically less full than my top left side. So I'm gonna overdraw this side to try to make it match my left side. And this is still a little dark for me, even with light pressure. I'm just blending it out. So on this side, I stay within the border of my lip. On this side, I drew outside of the border of my lip because this is the lower side naturally. Looks like this still needs to go up a little. And then I'm gonna fill in the outer corners of my lips a little bit. The darker color is absorbing more light. The lighter color, the center of my lip, is attracting and reflecting light, and basically just manipulating light to make things look a little bit fuller, a little bit more symmetrical. I'm gonna use the same product that I used on my cheek. This is called, okay, I don't know what this is called, but I know it's designated for your cheeks and your lips. It's like a cream powdery finish. And I'm just using that eyeshadow brush. Since this is a monochromatic look, I kind of want to bring some of that cheek tone onto my lip. This is so pretty and velvety. I also want to make sure I get the corners of my lips Just kind of makes the lip look finished and more polished if you get the corners. Okay, so now that the mascara is dry, I am just going to take a spoolie and gently scratch it. Obviously, you need to be careful on your eyelids. They're very delicate. Sometimes I don't mind a little bit of mascara right here because it just kind of looks like eyeliner. You can see that just removed it really easily. So this is it. This is the final look. It's a really easy, peachy, monochromatic look that suits most skin types really well. All of the peachy products that I use, I could use on a wide variety of skin tones. Even the paler toned eyeshadow in this eyeshadow duo would be a really pretty matte highlight on a deeper complexion. If you guys have any video suggestions or questions, feel free to put them in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.